Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main headlines.
Left behind, Paralympic star Hannah Cockcroft demands equality for disabled athletes after Olympic champions are promised a £40,000 payday.
We're working hard as athletes to get to a point where a Paralympic gold medal is seen as equal to an Olympic gold medal. And steps forward like this, which are amazing for our Olympic counterparts, I feel like kind of push our achievements back a little bit more again.
The highest tide of the year is peaking right now in Whitby, and it looks like the lowest lying harbourside properties have been spared the threat of flooding. Now the town's tourism businesses are looking to the skies to try and make the most of what's left of the Easter holidays.
Generation rent, why it's getting even more difficult for first-time buyers to afford their own home in Yorkshire.
Controversial call. Leeds denied a penalty after a handball shout is dismissed. We take a look at last night's footy action.
And the garden makeover with a difference. We catch up with the family transforming this space for people with autism. So first tonight, 7-time Paralympic gold medalist Hannah Cockcroft is calling for parity for disabled athletes after it was announced Olympic champions would be given prize money for the first time at this year's Games.
There's currently no offer of financial prizes for athletes with disabilities in Paris because the Paralympic Games are still a charity.
Well, Hannah, who's from Halifax, says that pushes back the achievements of Paralympians. Michael Billington reports.
She's a multiple Paralympic, World and Commonwealth champion, an athlete whose achievements on the track have brought her international fame. But Hannah Cockcroft will miss out on the same potential fortune being promised for the first time ever to medalists at this year's Paris Olympics.
It's frustrating. You know, we're working hard as athletes to get to a point where a Paralympic gold medal is seen as equal to an Olympic gold medal. And steps forward like this, which are amazing for our Olympic counterparts, I feel like kind of push our achievements back a little bit more again.
World Athletics announced today it will be the first sport to offer Olympic prize money in the history of the Games. Winners in 48 disciplines will take both a gold medal and a cheque worth almost £40,000. Sheffield's Lord Coe, the president of Athletics International Federation, has denied claims it goes against the amateur ethos of the Olympics.
No, I don't think it does. I think if the ethos of Olympic sport is to do everything you can to help and enhance the welfare of the athletes, I think this sits again comfortably in that landscape.
Long-distance runner Phil Sessman from Leeds is among those who could find himself £40,000 richer. He's already qualified for the marathon in Paris this summer.
It's still obviously kind of comparatively to other sports. These are athletes who are the best in the world at their event, a 1 in every 4 year kind of event, the absolute pinnacle of this sport. So £40,000 isn't a huge amount of money, but it's definitely not to be sniffed at, and it's definitely kind of a nice start towards kind of greater professionalism in the sport.
With 7 Paralympic titles under her belt, the prize money would have made Hannah more than £250,000 in her career to date.
That money would change lives for Paralympians on that Olympic and Paralympic start line. I'm pushing the same 100 metres as any runner's about to run, but getting parity in financial areas is incredibly hard. And I can't see an offer like that being on the table in my career. So it's incredible news for them. Unfortunately, it's never going to reach me.
Hannah's current focus is on next month's World Championships in Japan before qualifying rounds for the Paris Games. The promise of a medal for her, far greater than any financial reward her success might also bring. Michael Billington, ITV News.
Yes, great to see Hannah there. Just a shame about what's happened, really, isn't it? Now, seafront communities on the east coast are holding their breath tonight as the highest tide of the year threatens to flood harbourside properties.
In Whitby, the high water has just peaked and it appears homes and businesses there have been spared. But it comes after an Easter holiday which has been blighted by poor weather.
Seaside traders, though, say that takings are steady and they're doing their best to defy the rain over what's traditionally the start of the holiday season. Well, John Hill is in Whitby for us tonight. And John, the high tide is just about there, isn't it? What's it looking like?
3 minutes to 6 it was, Lara, and well, you can see how much water there is in the outer harbour here, just below the Abbey and St Mary's Church. And then we're just at the edge of the West Pier. You can see the sign here, extreme danger from wave action during rough weather. So there is a chain across the pier. The outer extension, which is the furthest reach of the pier, well, that's being closed off to the public completely. Now, that does happen. But here's the thing, they've probably had a lucky break here in South Bay, Scarborough, and also properties on the front at Sands End, just up the coast from Whitby, because had this swell been bigger and from a more northerly direction perhaps, and also had a depression which was in the North Sea until, well, really yesterday, had that all combined, then we could have been looking at flooding in several coastal communities. It looks like for now those low-lying harbourside properties have been spared. So now what? Well, it means that the tourism businesses here in the town, a town that relies on visitors, well, those businesses can now look once again to another of the elements, look into the skies to see if they can salvage what's left of the Easter school holidays. 250 years ago, Captain Cook sailed to the South Seas to witness a rare alignment of the planets. If Whitby's most famous adopted son had stayed at home today, he'd have seen something even rarer, the sun. Here as elsewhere, it's been in short supply. But for towns like Whitby that rely on decent weather, there seems to be some reassuring news. Folks are still prepared to come. Zahira Cole, Scout, and Mum Amy from Doncaster, determined to enjoy the beach. What do you make of the weather?
It's very unpredictable, isn't it? You have to just sort of make the most of it. We always say there's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad clothing.
It's that kind of spirit that's keeping businesses going. At the town's most famous fish and chip shop, they're still queuing out of the door. Important for owner Ian, who employs 100 people.
The weather wasn't brilliant and Easter was early, so it didn't help too much, but generally speaking it was a busy Easter. Takeaway suffered a little bit with the bad weather. What has happened is that some day trippers have checked a rainy forecast and skipped the drive to the east coast.
Unfortunately, when the weather did turn towards the end of the Easter holidays, then unfortunately we did see fewer visitors coming into Whitby. But we are grateful that Whitby does such a good job of attracting overnight visitors that actually overall the businesses reported quite positively.
And for indoor attractions like the Whitby Museum, lousy weather can mean more visitors.
For us, actually, the wet days are good days for us because people are looking for an indoor attraction. So unlike some other places, bad weather is actually quite good.
So here's the thing, in a wet and windy year, the tourism businesses that are so important to our region's economy, well, they probably just hope the likes of you and I take a punt on a day out and risk getting caught in a shower. Captain Cook endured far worse than a few showers. The town he watches over will be hoping it can weather whatever the British climate throws its way. John Hill, ITV News, Whitby.
Well, we heard about all that wet weather there in John Hill's report. Pretty miserable for holidaymakers making it out to the coast. So Kerry is here now. Has it been particularly wet that way?
Yeah, and it really feels like that. I don't know about you two. It just feels relentless with no respite, and even when we get some brighter spells, it's pretty short-lived. And there's never been, pretty much for the whole of this year so far, 2 days together where they've been completely dry.
Easter wasn't great.
Yeah. I felt sorry for John out there earlier on today because the surge and the big sort of high tides, coupled with the gusts that we've had actually today of nearly 50 miles an hour. But yes, the rainfall is what most people are talking about at the moment. Soggy underfoot and plenty of it. Just this month so far, so that's the first 9 days of April, North and West Yorkshire have had 92% of the expected rainfall for the whole of the month. And all of that is well above the average. At this time in the month, we'd expect around 27%. So a little look back at this year so far. I'm using North Yorkshire as an example because that's been one of the wettest. 2024 so far has had 356 millimetres, and we'd expect in the whole year 942, and that's about 40%. So most of our counties have had 40% of the rainfall for the whole of 2024 expected so far this year, and it does feel relentless. It's getting us a little bit sad, isn't it? Because when we get the drier and the brighter spells, it goes pretty quickly. Now, high pressure, I've been looking for high pressure between the 6th and the 9th of January was the last time we had high pressure sat right over us, in what I would call in charge. It's been nearby, it's teased us a little bit, it's gone away.
And when you say high pressure, you mean sunshine, do you?
So high pressure is, when we talk about high pressure, it's not necessarily sunny, but it's dry, and this is what we need. We need the dry, because otherwise the wet has got no chance to subside. And so I've been looking at the charts, and the next area of high pressure that could come right over us is probably towards next weekend. Okay. But I want to be positive, the next couple of days does look a lot better, and of course the forecast is a little bit later on.
OK, thank you so much for that. We'll look forward to seeing you later.
I've got a very soggy lawn, I tell you.
I bet you have.
Yes,
you won't be cutting it when it's wet.
Squelch, definitely. It needs cutting too. Now then, still to come on calendar, thousands gather around the region to celebrate Eid, marking the end of Ramadan.
And the garden being transformed into a sensory space for people with autism in South Yorkshire. Next tonight, and it's the dream for many in our region to finally buy their own home.
Yes, but with the ongoing cost of living crisis and elevated interest rates, new research has found that in our region it's now almost £1,800 more expensive a year to own a home as a first-time buyer than to rent a property. Chris Conway has more.
Becoming a homeowner is the dream of all first-time buyers. But for the Butler family from Sowerby Bridge, making it a reality is a financial nightmare. They've been saving for a deposit since they got married, but now with new baby Eloa, they have little cash left each month.
As we watch everything go higher, as we watch everything kind of go up, it kind of feels like it's getting further and further away from a possibility for us, doesn't it?
I think we've always had 3 goals: to get married, to have kids, and to have a house.
Tick, and tick, not tick.
One of them, which is the house situation, is so difficult.
Previously, it was cheaper to own your own home rather than renting. However, new research found renting is now cheaper than owning a first home in 3/4 of the UK. Figures for Yorkshire and the Humber show it costs first-time buyers on average £954 a month to own their home, compared to an average monthly rental cost of £809, making it £1,731 a year more expensive to own instead of renting.
You're better off renting, which is really shocking because rents have gone up by so much over recent years.
Dan Wilson-Craw from the campaign group Generation Rent believes first-time buyers are being priced out by the interest rate rises we've seen since 2021.
The interest rates obviously are making it more expensive for people to buy a home, and that hasn't fed through into prices, which we would expect it to. We'd expect, higher interest rates to lead to prices coming down, becoming more affordable.
There are fears this latest research is just more evidence of a crisis within the housing market.
You can use the flooring.
TV property expert Cunley Barker believes the fix to high property prices is to build more homes.
We need to build these houses, but it takes time. So the government, whoever our next government is, they need to make sure that they have a plan in place, a long-term, multi-decade plan to supply housing of the right quality, in the right places, in the right density and numbers, in order that we might mitigate these house price rises.
The Conservatives say they've already helped almost 1 million households through schemes like Help to Buy, and they want to set up a fairer housing system that creates genuinely affordable homes. If Labour win the next election, they say they'll build 1.5 million new homes and create a government-backed mortgage guarantee scheme. Potential hope for first-time buyers of the future. But for those looking to get on the property ladder now, they continue to face high ownership costs. They say their only solution to continue renting. Chris Conway, ITV News.
Well, either way, there's no cheap option, is there? Now then, let's get some more news from right around our region. And a doctor has told an inquest that a driver's decision to get behind the wheel was reasonable before he fainted, crashing into a bus stop, killing a teenage girl. Caitlin Dawson was 15 when a car ploughed into her in Huddersfield in 2018. No charges were brought against the driver after medical evidence showed he fainted at the wheel. Today, her inquest heard from a consultant neurologist who said there was no legal reason why the driver shouldn't have got behind the wheel and that he couldn't have medically advised him not to drive.
Almost 2/3 of police officers in South Yorkshire said they would not recommend joining the force to others, according to new figures published today. A Police Federation survey revealed that 83% of officers felt worse off financially than they were 5 years ago. 17% were saying that they almost never have enough money for essentials, and 73% say they don't feel valued. South Yorkshire Police Chief Constable Lauren Poultney says she recognises the issues highlighted in the survey and is working to address concerns.
Yorkshire Water has been fined £150,000 for an unauthorised sewage discharge into the River Don in Sheffield. The Environment Agency said it found sewage at Kirkbridge Dyke in Darnell in April 2020. Yorkshire Water has also agreed to pay the costs of the investigation. The money will be given to Sheffield and Rotherham Wildlife Trust.
You're watching Calendar. The ITV Evening News continues here at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening tonight with Lucrezia Millarini.
Let down amid an exceptionally toxic debate, the findings of a major review into child gender care. 4 years in the making, the report reveals children who question their identity face a lack of medical research to help them. Also, the new specific criminal offence aiming to tackle the surge in violence against shop workers. And the PM under a different kind of scrutiny as his footwear causes a social media storm. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
The Prime Minister wearing trainers, whatever next. Gosh.
You'll be wearing them next.
Heaven forbid. Now in time for some sport, and two football icons call it a day.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Yes, well, Chris can join us in the studio now. I'm pleased to say that you haven't got trainers on.
No, not when I'm working. They've got very
Sometimes
professional.
in the office you do.
Do I? You've been looking too close for that, Lara, to be honest.
Anyway,
sorry, it's been to talk about my trainers.
I got distracted then. It's been a day of retirements, hasn't it?
It has, yes. Sadly, one forced the other on their own terms. Harrogate's Rachel Daly has called time on her international career. The 32-year-old was part of the Lionesses team playing every game when they won the European Championships in 2022. In total, she played 84 matches for England and scored 16 goals. On social media today, she said playing for her country was the greatest honour. Well, Rachel will continue playing club football for Aston Villa, but sadly, Leeds' Stuart Dallas has been forced to hang up his boots, not his trainers, for good. Now, Dallas has been out of action for nearly 2 years after suffering a badly broken leg on the pitch. The 32-year-old, who was part of the Leeds team that won promotion to the Premier League in 2020, says his knee has sustained irreparable damage. Leeds say they're in discussions with Dallas about a future role at the club. Well, Leeds could probably do with a fit and firing Stuart Dallas right now, with their form stuttering somewhat as they chase another promotion. Leeds could only draw 0-0 with Sunderland last night. It did mean they moved into the Championship's top two, but could drop out again tonight if Ipswich avoid defeat at home to Watford. Last night's game wasn't without controversy. Leeds felt they should have been awarded a penalty in either half, but on each occasion the referee waved play on. After the match, Leeds manager Daniel Farke was a frustrated man.
I think in the first half was a clear handball. In the second half, if the arm is in the other like this, so there's also no doubt it's a clear handball. So normally 2 penalties. I'm sure we would have scored at least one out of this.
So, Chris, very tight at the top and very tense at the bottom too.
Ian, strap yourselves in. I think we're in for a bit of a bumpy ride as the season reaches its climax, if last night's results are anything to go by. Now, let's take a look at the bottom of the table. As you can see, only goal difference separates Sheffield Wednesday and Huddersfield Town, our two Yorkshire teams there, either side of that relegation line. It was looking good for Huddersfield at Preston last night after Josh Karoma put them ahead, but a second half capitulation turned the game on its head, Preston running out 4-1 winners. It was the opposite at Hillsborough, where Sheffield Wednesday contributed to them being 2-0 down to Norwich. However, 4 half-time substitutions and a switch to a more direct style of play had the desired effect, as 2 headers from corners earned Wednesday what could be a vital point.
You take this point, I think it's a point for our spirit, for our togetherness, and yeah, at the end, I think the atmosphere was special. yeah, for me it's important that we stay also in sometimes in difficult moments together, and in the second half we stay together, the whole stadium, the players, and it is great to see. And now keep going. Saturday is the next one.
Now, there were more angry jeers from Barnsley's travelling support last night after they watched their team surrender a 1-0 lead to lose at Stevenage, their second in a matter of days. But Mansfield bounced back from Saturday's humbling defeat to Crawley with a 1-0 win over Forest Green to return to the League Two automatic promotion spots. Now, Doncaster are on their best run of form for 77 years. They racked up a 7th straight win last night, beating Walsall by 2-1. And George Thompson struck a beauty from 25 yards to give Harrogate a 1-0 win over Grimsby. Do you like wearing trainers then?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
I'd wear them all the time if I could.
But not tonight.
Not tonight, obviously. No.
Obviously. There you go. Trainer talk.
Thank you very much. I've had enough trainers for now. Thank you. Now, thousands of Muslims across the region have been celebrating Eid today. It marks the end of the month-long fasting of Ramadan. In Huddersfield, at mosques and community centres, people mark the occasion with special prayers. Those celebrating at the Beit Samad Mosque also gave out chocolates to children and food parcels to those in need.
What Ramadan has taught us about compassion, unity, discipline, brotherhood, forgiving your enemies as well. And if you have any dispute or any grudge, just forgive them. And this Eid Day is a real demonstration of that practice. It's about sharing your happiness and caring the other people as well.
A couple from Barnsley who are building a sensory garden for children with disabilities are appealing for volunteers to come forward and help.
Yes, we first featured Michael and Paul Atwell-Bryce's mammoth task in an exclusive report in February that's still available, by the way, to view on our streaming service ITVX.
Well, since then, they've been getting their hands dirty and have shifted 20 tonnes of fly tipping from their allotment and planted more than 100 trees. They've done really well, but there's still plenty to do, as Adam Fowler found out.
We first visited this disused allotment 2 months ago, and it certainly didn't look anywhere near as good as it looks now. But thanks to a lot of hard work and some goodwill, it's really coming on. And we're about to speak to the people responsible. Look at them here, all hard at work. Gentlemen, and Izzy, tell us about this then. What's the journey been like over the last 2 months?
Oh, it's been really hard work. We've moved 20 tonnes of fly tipping from this site, and it's just been back-breaking work. We just want more volunteers and helpers down, and more funding and grants if we can.
We've got pictures of how it did look, and it looks so dramatically different now, but there's still lots of work to do, isn't there? And lots of things to add.
I think for us, though, the passion for this is, as a lot of your viewers know, we have children with disabilities and complex needs. And across the country, there are so many families like ours where they need to be able to go outdoors and have fun. And we're just going to make this such a great, safe environment for children and young people to come and be themselves and to be happy. That's what it's all about.
And Izzy, you're one of the volunteers. Yeah. They need more volunteers. What do you get out of it?
It's a free workout, it's time out in the sun, meeting lovely people. At the end of the day, it's for an amazing, amazing cause. And as far as we're going at the moment, it's us three, Rob, and a couple of helpers, but we really need more people to come down.
And tell us about some of the stuff you've added, because you've planted trees and things as well.
Yeah, so we've had donations of trees, fruit trees all around the site. We're currently doing our raised beds, so we're doing 5 different beds for the 5 different centres. Everything's we're getting it donated or gifted, and we want the community to get involved, and we want these beds sponsoring as well, actually, if somebody can.
Why not? You're on TV, why not? Plug it. It's going to make such a difference, isn't it, to so many children, this?
Yeah, so the National Autistic Society schools just up the road, they're going to be a key holder. They're going to bring the children down, get them out in the community, somewhere safe. It's going to be really good for all the community, and a lot of people don't realise we are doing it for autistic adults as well, and we are welcoming anybody with any disability.
You're looking for companies to come forward as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we desperately need to make this plot accessible. We need a company to come forward and give us an accessible path, to work closely with us so we can work together as a team and to make it accessible for everybody, with those in wheelchairs and those that aren't in wheelchairs but are still very unsteady on their feet. And we're finding it really difficult to find those companies. So if there are any companies out there who can help, please do reach out, because we really need that help so much.
Well, it looks fantastic, guys. Keep up the good work. They're hoping to have all this done by the summer, and we're certainly looking forward to coming back and seeing it for the grand opening. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Barnsley.
Do you think they've got mud under their nails?
I wanted to see that, actually. I wanted to see Michael and Paul, have you got dirty fingernails? Because we want to see them.
All the time. Right, I wonder how they coped with all that mud and rain. Here's Kerry with the forecast.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, it turned out wet again today from the west, but we did have a lovely start earlier on today. Dry, clear, a little bit chilly, and as we head into tomorrow, it's the opposite. It's going to feel warmer, but we're going to get a drier and brighter day, although still on the breezy side. We've got high pressure to the south of the UK, but it's feeding in that warm air over the next couple of days. Weather fronts are trying to push through, but we're hoping the high will just keep them nudging northwards as we head Friday into Saturday. So in a bit more detail, overnight tonight, still the risk of some further showery outbreaks of rain around the middle part of the night, pushing south and eastwards and fizzling out. But it leaves us with some very mild air and cloudy, misty, murky conditions. Last night hovering around freezing. Tonight, most of us in double figures as we head into the early hours of tomorrow. 6:14 and 8:01 are your sun times for Thursday, and we are expecting it to be a better day. So maybe a bit of dampness, mist and murk first thing, but soon lifting, and maybe not wall-to-wall blue sky and sunshine, maybe bright rather than sunny, but it's dry, it's breezy, and where the sun does pop out, we're looking at highs into the high teens, 18 or 19 Celsius. Now, as we head into tomorrow evening and first thing on Friday, this system trying to push in, but it does nudge its way northwards, so it's an improving story on Friday to dry, bright and breezy conditions once more, and temperatures still just above the average if you get any sunny spells. As we head into the weekend, we're hoping that front still stays to the north on Saturday, but as it edges south, it will bring more clouds. Still quite breezy, temperatures taking a bit of a dip, and then cooler into Sunday, still breezy with a mix of sunshine and scattered showers.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go. Slightly drier, couple of days.
Yeah, we'll make the most of it, won't we? Yeah. It's a bit warmer out there tomorrow.
Perfect weather for getting on the allotment and finishing off that project. What do you think?
Yeah, let's volunteer.
You said it.
Right then, we'll have to do it.
What have you let us in for now?
Thanks for watching.
Good night.